Alright, today we're going to be taking this business card and we're going to be making a print layout using only Google Slides. Okay? So the business card it's actually, if I go to page setup, 3.75 by 2.5. So in Google Slides you can make a 3.75 by 2.5. This is actually a continuation lesson from a previous lesson, but that was not via video. But if you are using this to maybe make your own business card in Google Slides, 3.75 by 2.5 is what you need. That is to support a full bleed cut in Google Slides. Alright, sweet. So now that we have our document, we have a good example. What we need to do is download it as a JPEG. Now you can see when I downloaded it as a JPEG, it didn't really give me any good options there, right? We didn't have the ability to up the resolution at all, so that when we go to use this for a print, it wouldn't be blurry. So that's the only bad thing about using the JPEG version of this. Scalable vector graphic, I'm going to download that one too. And then I'm going to open up a new document, new presentation. We're going to name this cut layout and your name. And then change the page setup to be custom 8.5 by 11. For this, when you get done with this one, you put your cursor over here and click, and that'll make that so it stays on that number. Hit apply and delete anything off of the sheet. Alright, the next part is inserting the image. So we're going to insert that from a computer. Here's my SVG image. Notice it says unsupported type. The JPEG image, however, works. So that's the only downfall to using this workflow. It doesn't like anything vector within Google Slides. So this is just to show you how to lay out for cut. It's a demonstration using very little software to teach students graphic design. Okay? We normally would use InDesign or Scribus for this, but in this case, Google Slides is readily available to all students, and that is why I'm using it today. So this will be pixelated if it prints. That's the only bad thing about it. Alright, to continue on, just for educational purposes, what we gotta do is draw out a shape. Go to Format Options on that shape. Go to Size, and you type in 3.5 by 2. Okay. Click off of it, click back on it, make sure it stayed 3.5 by 2. Good. You're going to put this in the center of this. And you'll see the 2 red up here. That means you did it correctly. Alright, now we're going to go into Fill and make sure that it is on Transparent. Good. Grab both shapes using the Shift key. Hit Command D or Control D on the keyboard. This is also duplicate. You can do it in the menu if you want. Command Dog or Control Dog. And you're going to do this just like that. And repeat. Repeat. Now for this one, you're going to grab all of these. Make sure these are touching. If you get a space like that, just make sure they're snapped to each other, just like that. There we go. So for this one, you want to grab all of these. It doesn't really like to grab all of them using the net. You have to hold Shift. Like that. Hit Command D or Control D. And now you got all 4 of them. Alright, now we got a layout. Now, I found the fastest way to do this next part is go Edit, Select All. And this time we're going to put this in the center of this sheet. You see the red X in the center there? Alright. Now let's move on to the next step. Alright, so for the next step, just to support using this template in the future, we're going to turn this into a template. We're going to take and drag out from the ruler these lines. And these lines are going to intersect the outer part of all the images. So if I want to use this in the future, I can. Just like that. And now we're going to establish cut lines. For that, I'm going to zoom in. It's Command Option plus or Command Option minus, or you can go in here and zoom in. So to establish cut lines, we're going to take a line tool and we're going to drag out. If you hold Shift, you'll drag a line, a straight line. And what I want to do is use this line so that it intersects with the top part of this square, rectangle. Okay? And you can see it snaps. If I go like that, it turns red. That's good. So I want it to snap. And then I'm going to hit Command D to duplicate it. I'm going to put one here. And it doesn't really matter back and forth. It just matters up and down. So it only has to have the red line going horizontal. Command D. Command D. There we go. So those are all my vertical lines going down. Now I'm going to do that same trick. This time I'm going to run the horizontal lines. Again, draw a line. Make sure it snaps as far as the red is concerned. Command D. Command D. There we go. So those are our cut lines. Now we're going to label those cut lines so that it makes it a lot easier at the cutter to be able to cut them. Alright, so our next step is to label the positioning of each one of these. Here's how you do that. So here's a text box, right? Just click and drag a text box out. You can make the font very small. And now you can type a value, 3.5 for example. Okay, that's very small, good. So you can use this box over and over again to label these. So you click on your line and you make sure Format Options is on. And over here there's Position. So the first position, this line that it's highlighted, is 0.75. So I label that one 0.75 using my box. 0.75. Okay. And if I just take this and hit Command D, I can then drag it over here to position it. So I do that for this one, and all these lines going down. Again, here's the line. The position for this one is 5.25. So I go up here, I type in 5.25, Command D, and then I drag it down to here. And you want to put this as far over as possible because it will cut off when you go to print if you don't. Okay, and then you want to label all of these lines. So this line is going to be, its value is going to be an X. So over here it says 0.63. 0.63. Command D. And you want to label this line and this line and this line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll continue on with the video. Alright, so here's the finished product. Got our numbers. They're well labeled. Again, you might want to put these as far down as possible towards this because they're going to get cut off when you go to print them. And now that they're all labeled on the sides and all labeled at the top, and now it's time to get rid of these lines. These lines were actually just in place so we could position these lines. Cool. There we go. And if we want to use this in the future, we could use a different program to actually make the business cards, like GIMP or Photoshop or InDesign or Illustrator, to make the business card itself so that they are a high quality design and they don't have any kind of like pixelation. Again, this is just to show this is actually a very valid template. It's just the picture itself lacks the clarity because it's pixel based instead of pixel and vector based. All right, and when you go to print this, I would go ahead and print it. And what I like to do is print two different ways. I go to more settings and I'll print one to fit the page only so I can see my numbers. I'll call this my cut sheet, okay? And then I'll go print and then more settings, and then use default to scale. Print one, and then you would then print as many copies that I'm asking you inside the classroom to print. See the assignment to find out how many copies you need in the end. But print out one so we can look at it. Make sure that these measurements are on. Make sure it's good to print and good to cut. All right, so that is how you make a cut layout for business cards using Google Slides. Enjoy.